Hey everyone, Haley here from The Foiled Plan. If you're new here, welcome. I post DIY craft videos every Friday and design videos the beginning of each week. I do a lot of Cricut crafting, foiling, dollar store DIYs, epoxy tumblers, product reviews, and pretty much anything relating to getting crafty and running a small creative business. If you enjoy that sort of content, please feel free to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of my future videos. If you're already a foiled friend, welcome back. I am so glad you're joining me again today. In today's episode of our creative design series, we are moving on to digital lettering for beginners. We're using the PROCREATE app on the iPad with the Apple Pencil that we just introduced in the last episode. So if you are new to PROCREATE, go ahead and start back at episode 1 of my creative design series. Otherwise, this episode may not make too much sense. All right, that's what we're working with today, so let's get into it. So first, let's take a quick look at something called the line guide. These are the lines that you want to follow when you're lettering, and they help keep your letters and words consistent with proper proportions. Let's go ahead and add some letters in so that we can understand what these lines mean a little bit easier. All right, so the two main lines that most are familiar with if you've ever used lined notebook paper are called the base line, that's this thick line right here, and the ascender line. So that would be this thick line just up here. So the base line is where the majority of letters sit, and the ascender line is where the ascending part of letters touch. So this right here is the ascending part of the letter B, and that ascending part is going to touch the ascender line but not go past it. Now we also have the descender line, the X height line, and the cap line. The descender line is the line that the descending part of lowercase letters touch below the base line. Let's see an example. So this is the letter J, and the descending part of that letter is going to stretch down past the baseline and touch the descender line. This right here is known as the descender of that letter. This dotted line right here between the baseline and the ascender is the X height. The X height is the height that all lowercase letters reach based on the height of the letter X in the lowercase alphabet, but it doesn't include the ascenders or the descenders of that letter. It's easier to see with letters like A and B. So this height here, where the top of the lowercase a will sit, is the X height. This part here of the letter B is going to reach up and touch the X height. Lastly, we have the cap line. So generally, capital letters at the beginning of words will be slightly taller than the ascender line. So you can see here, the uppercase A and B are just slightly above the ascender line. It's important to note that these lines will not be the same distance apart for every type of lettering. The distance between each line can drastically change the look of lettering, and there really isn't a right or wrong when it comes to figuring out your personal lettering style. Just remember, these are just the guidelines to be aware of when you're first starting out. So to recap, we have the descender line, the base line, the X height, the ascender line, and the cap line. Now that we know the line guide, let's jump into brush strokes. So with brush lettering, there's 8 basic strokes that you need to learn in order to master the alphabet. These strokes can all be done with a different style to change the way they look, but the basic principle of the stroke remains the same. These 8 strokes include the downstroke, upstroke, underturn, overturn, compound curve, oval, ascending loop, and descending loop. If you're getting confused, don't worry, I will explain everything. As a beginner, practice sheets are going to be your best friend. They are how I originally learned to digitally letter. I am a self-taught creator and I actually went to school for accounting and administration. So if you have an art education and my videos make you cringe, it's probably because I'm not formally trained. I just like creating and helping others create as well, but I'm going off on a tangent, so let's reel it back in. Okay, practice sheets. Seriously, going to be your best friend when you're just starting out, and really no matter your experience level. You can find a lot of them online, and I actually have some that I have designed on my website, so I'll post a link up here and in the description box below if you'd like to use the sheets that I'm going to use today. And as a thank you for your support in watching my videos, if you use the code YouTube50, you'll receive 50% off my practice sheets. So you can use them for digital practice, or you can print them out and practice with your favorite brush pens. So with whatever practice sheets you choose to use, you want to go ahead and open them up in PROCREATE. So if you have them saved in files, once you've created a new canvas, you're just going to add and then insert a file. If you have them saved in your camera roll, then you can go ahead and click insert a photo and bring them into your canvas that way. Now, if you do need to adjust the size, I recommend making sure that the magnetics is turned on and then adjust the practice sheet so the image ratio stays the same. We don't want it to look distorted when we're practicing. All right, once you have your practice sheet loaded on the screen, it's important for you to create a new layer to practice on. If you start drawing directly on the practice sheet layer, you won't be able to use the eraser tool without erasing the practice page as well. So just always work on a new layer. Now let's select a brush. We're going to use a brush pen from the calligraphy brush library. This is one of the stock brushes, so everyone should have this. Now select a color that can easily be seen on top of the practice page. These sheets are purple, so I'm going to use black. Then adjust your size if needed, and you're ready to start lettering. So this practice page includes all of the 8 basic strokes I mentioned earlier. The first stroke that we're going to learn is the down stroke. I'm going to zoom in on this page so that you can see it easier on your screen. So with the downstroke, you want to apply a decent amount of pressure, and you're going to drag the pencil down. For the upstroke, you will use much less pressure and drag the pencil upwards on the screen. With these practice sheets, the arrow indicates the direction your pencil will be moving in to make the stroke. Let's move on to underturn and overturn. For the underturn, we're going to combine a downstroke with an upstroke. So we kind of use a swooping motion to change from one stroke to the next. Just make sure to use firm pressure when you are completing your downstroke and release the pressure when you're using the upstroke. The overturn is very similar to the underturn, however, we're going to start with an upstroke and curve into a downstroke. Again, be mindful of your pressure throughout. Moving on to the compound curve, this stroke is a great way to practice your pressure. You'll start with an upstroke, curve into a downstroke, then finish by curving into an upstroke again. So the pressure is going to be soft, hard, soft. The oval stroke is used to create many letters in the alphabet. So you're going to start at the top, curve down with your downstroke, loop around and use an upstroke to connect to where you started. Curve down, loop up. The ascending loop begins at that X height line with an upstroke to the ascender line and then loops back down with a downstroke to the baseline. So we start at the X, up to the ascender, down to the base. If you find that your brush is really thick in comparison to the line that you're trying to trace, what you can do is just adjust the size of your brush. The descending loop also begins at the X height line, but it starts with a downstroke to the descender line, then loops back to the baseline with an upstroke. Descender, base, descender, base. And these will become pretty fluid movements for you, and eventually you won't even have to think about it. You create muscle memory, so if you're not super fast right away, don't worry about it. It's not about being the fastest. So those are the 8 basic strokes. I strongly recommend practicing these strokes as much as possible, at least once a day when you're just starting out. And the nice thing about digital practice sheets is you can reuse them as many times as you want. I'm just gonna show you really quickly the first page of my lowercase brush lettering practice sheets. The first page has stroke practice, and then it has letters A through D. It goes over how to use the 8 strokes that we learned earlier to create brush letters. The letter A uses an oval with an underturn. The letter B starts out with an ascending loop, and then you guys get the idea. Again, just make sure to create a new layer to practice on before you get started. In the future, I'll be showing you how to connect letters to create words, how to create uppercase letters, how to create bouncy letters, and more. We're going to learn new techniques and dive even deeper into Procreate. I've also had some requests for how I create my cartoon drawings. So that's also something that I can show you how to do in the future. I hope you found this helpful and maybe it'll inspire you to start lettering. Again, no pressure to purchase my practice sheets, but if you do happen to do that on my website, be sure to use the code YouTube50 and save yourself 50% off of those. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button and turn the notification bell on so you don't miss any of my future content. If you're already a foiled friend like Glitter and Gloss 13, thank you so much for the support. I truly appreciate it. As always, helpful links will be in the description box. Leave any questions you may have in the comment section below, and that's all I'm gonna say. Bye.